Can you all hear me and see me? Yes, good, good, good. That's good. So then let's start. Okay. Can you all see the screen? Pull the chats. Yeah, okay. Let's start here. Okay. So let me just turn off some stuff. No, let's turn off best move arrow and everything else. Okay. So when analyzing this position, first question is, who do you think is winning, white or black? It could also be equal. Is it white or black? White is winning, yeah. And the reason is because they're so much closer to this edge, right? Their pawns are closer. It looks like black is being squished while white is spread out. White has both his rooks on the same file and same things. Okay, so we're trying to think what white's next move would be. It'd be great if white could push this pawn, right? Why can't he push this pawn? Why can't he just, I don't know, move this pawn down to here for now? Yeah, there's a rook here, right? Now, if the bishop comes back here, then the pawn can go up, right? So, yeah, there you go. So then we need to stop this pawn from coming up. So what do we do if the bishop comes up here? How do we stop this pawn from going up? Do we have any choices? By resigning every time. Every time. So the only way is to protect it using a piece, d7. Yeah, with the rook, right? So if you go d7, he would just take it, and you would take back. If you go rook up here, he would take it, and you take back. But regardless, you end up having to give up a rook for that pawn. Pawn f6. f6? This? No, sorry. This? Like this? Because this pawn wouldn't do much. This pawn can still come up if the bishop comes back. Also, if you ever push this pawn up, what do you think will be the first thing he does? If you ever push this pawn up. Like this? You want him to check like this? He won't check you. So if you push this pawn up, what will he do? Let's flip the board around. No, he wouldn't take. Because look, this pawn is doing a really good job squishing all these guys here. You could go f5 later, like this. I think this is what you mean. Hold on. Why is this not going back? There. I think you're saying f5 like this. And then, yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad move. The problem, okay, so, oh my gosh, something's going on. I'll just redo it. Okay, there. So if we do f5, he'll probably take it. You're right. And then there's this pawn here, which is troubling, which is really bad for us. Oh, this is taken by en passant. It's just a special rule in chess that oh, okay, you should search it up because you should have learned that in a beginner's class or something. But yeah, or an intermediate. But it's a special rule, kind of like castling. Oh, okay. Basically, if a pawn moves right next to you in this kind of situation, you can take it like that. So we know that this won't work, and we need a piece to stop this. This knight would be the only piece that could stop it. It can't go here, though, to stop that. can't go here, can't go here. It needs to stop that by going either here or here. There's no way it'll come here because the pawns will take it. So is there any way we can get our knight to be here? So for example, if I move the rook, he'll come here, and then I can move my knight here, and now it's protected, right? Yeah, I can move my rook to d7, but he'll end up taking. So a good option would be to move the rook to one of these places so he doesn't take. But I'll show you each of these places is actually bad. E6 is actually the correct move, yeah, but we'll see why. So what do you think he would do if we came rook c7? What's special about rook c7? Yeah, he would come pawn e6 because now he's doing this discovered attack, so we can't actually take the pawn or even push our own pawn. He'll just take our rook. So we now have to run away with the rook, and he can, well, from there it's pretty bad for us because now the pawn's so up close. He could, just trying to think of interesting things he could do. He could probably now attack here. And now he's going to push this up. So all this is bad. For example, if we take this, if we, I don't know, take here or not, if we do a silly move, he'll probably do this and then check here, and then he can now take the rook. It's all really bad for us. So the recommended move is actually go to e6 because these other two have problems too. If you, for example, go to b7, he can still come bishop here and you still can't move the knight. Why can't you move the knight right now? It's pinned, yeah. And then if you go here, he will push it. And we don't want him to push that pawn because now we're even more squished. So the only way to stop him from pushing the pawn and to allow space for the knight to come here to protect that is if we actually put the rook in front of that pawn. Yeah. Next, he made this move. Can we take that? What do you think? Yeah, our pawns become stacked and now they're both useless because if we push him up, the bishop will take, and then this one, the bishop will take. They're much better if they're together. That way we can push, protecting each other. So this pawn being pushed, if we take it, both our pawns become useless. If we move up, then he will just push this pawn up after, well, he'll probably do this first and then push the pawn up. But even if he doesn't, he can push the pawn up, and if we take, he takes our rook, and then he'll take this pawn. So here, I'll show you. See, this pawn is protecting here. So if we push it up, nothing's protecting this pawn anymore. So he has this tactic where he pushes his pawn, and now he has this discovered attack. So it can go on a bit, and then he gets our pawn. And this is a better position for him. So we don't want to take that pawn, and we don't want to push it up. So the only option we have is to continue with our plan. So we brought the rook up, so there's space for the knight. So we'll just continue with the plan. He takes the rook. And now we can actually bring the knight into that nice spot. Okay. Now, in this position, what do you think black would do? He has the bishop here. He has the knight there. Is there any way he can develop his pieces more? Move what up? And where? So the knight's in a nice position, so don't worry about that. The queen can't go anywhere. The rook can't go anywhere. If the rook goes up, I mean, nothing really happens, but yeah, bishop d3 is the right move. And a good thing to notice is if you have a bishop up here, like super close to the end, or even a knight super close to the end, like if the knight was here, that is so bad for him that the bishop at that point is worth almost as much as a rook. Same with if a knight's that close. So the value of a piece is dependent on its position on the board. If it's far away, it's worth only like 3 or something. If it's close to the edge, it might be worth less than 3. But if it's really dead in his territory, then it's worth more than 3. So in this case, he decided to sacrifice his rook for the bishop and a pawn. So he ended up losing the pawn in exchange. Now, what do you think is the best move in this situation? Do we take back this way? Do we take back this way? Or do we take this pawn here? Or just ignore it altogether? Yeah, the best move is actually the queen, you're right. But that's not what white did. So the reason the best move is the queen is because if you move the knight, it's now out of its great position. It'll eventually have to move back. If you take it with a pawn, like this pawn can actually push all the way to the end. Now he has a free pawn, a pass pawn. So if you take with the queen, you can actually get the other pawn later as well. So if he takes, for example, you take this, and now you're threatening the rook. He can't stop you because of this. Yeah, you can move rook a8, like in this case, rook a8. But it's just bad, right? Like he's protecting this now. I guess he wouldn't. Yeah, he's protecting this now. And then he can also move his rook, and it's just bad. There are ways to stop it, but it's just getting closer and closer, and you don't want that damage. So best just to stop it with the queen. So what we learned from this, if you actually want to analyze positions, you got to think what they're going to do. So right now, he's threatening 2 pawn pushes. The only way to stop both of them is to move the rook up to stop the first one, and then also create space for the knight to go here to stop the second one. That's the only correct move. All other moves end up losing. Even if we go into inline notation, yeah, wait. Just want to show you. Yeah, it says the only move is the rook up. If you go here, for example, you see white has a huge advantage now because he'll push, and now here it's bad for you. Game continues, and then you eventually lose a rook. That's the first thing. That's how we analyze positions. Okay, this is another one. He brought the rook up here because he's not really afraid of that knight. If the knight takes, you can take back with a pawn. And now your bishop is unlocked. You're attacking his queen. And also this pawn chain means that he can't go anywhere. So overall, it's just not looking great for him. You can maybe bring your queen up here and with the bishop attack here. You have a lot of options. So he decided not to take. He moved here to protect this spot. Let's say he made a silly move, like this move. What you could do in that case is you could actually skewer the queen to the bishop. And what would you do if the queen came here? Because technically it's still protecting the bishop, right? What would you do then? You can't take the bishop because he's protecting it. Yeah, you can bring the rook here and keep attacking the queen. And then once he moves, then there you go. If the queen comes back here and you do this, the queen's technically still protecting it, but it's just horrible for him because he's pinned and that queen can't move anywhere anymore. So you're free to start attacking. The game didn't go down like that. He brought it here right away, so you can't pin him. So if you come here, he'll just move the bishop or something. Here, attacking the center. The game continues a bit. So this attacks this. This is offering a trade because he has 2 defenders. Game continues. So here, if white is going to take, what would he take with? He wouldn't take with queen, but which one would he take with if he was going to take? Yeah, he'd take with bishop, right? Because if he took with knight, then it's a fork. So yeah, he took with bishop, and the game continues a bit. Remember, this whole time, the knight can take here, but he decides not to, because it would open up this bishop, and it'd just be bad. Game continues a bit. Now he takes, and we can push this pawn to the end. Okay. So this was his plan, that if we took with bishop, he would come and pin this. If we took with queen, he could also actually attack here and then bring his other and then bring the rook down. So that was the plan for this sacrifice, to open up the center where he has more rooks than us. Game continued. Does he need to worry about me taking here? I mean, can't he just take the queen right away? I mean, why did he move his rook? Why didn't he just do something else? Because if I take here, he'll take me, right? So why is he worried about it? It's pinned, right? Yeah, because after, if he makes a silly move, I can take it, and he can't take me because I just take his queen, and then I can just push up. So yeah. Game continued. And then this is the situation you were in. What do you think would happen if he took here? I mean, this isn't a skewer because he's protected, right? So what would happen? I'm not up. I'm down a whole rook now. So why did I allow him to take there? What would I do? I mean, if you want, you can always start by checking and then see where it goes from there. So let's just start by checking. Can't check here or here or here. So this is the only move. And then he has these two moves. What would you do then? I mean, you get a pawn, yeah. You can't get a rook because he'll take you. Is there anything better than a pawn you could get? Maybe some sort of skewer or fork you can do now? Yeah, queen up to h8, and that's skewers this. If he goes here, he'll have to go to one of these positions, and then that's a skewer right there. So you get a queen. Probably more than a queen too later, but so yeah, he can't take this. He brought this so that you can't skewer him, because if you do that, he'll just do this. This threatens a check here, and then to take the pawn. And from here, there's nothing he can really do. Let's say he brought his queen here. Can you guys think of something that would be clever? What would we do? Because we have bishops, and his queen and rook are on the same colored square as our bishop. So what would we do here? What would we do? So bishop b3 would be nice, but he'll just take our queen. So maybe we can take bishop b3 later. We should bring it here later. But first we have to deal with this queen situation. What do we do? So this is a good move, but not right now. Okay, let's take queen d1, but what does that do? I mean, his rook just takes us back, right? Right? Yeah, now we can do bishop b3 because his rooks are on the same square. So now he can do something like that. We take a rook, and this is not equal because we have this pawn that can get pushed down. So he won't make it. I don't know, down here. And then let's just finish this off. You wouldn't push here. You could if you wanted to. Both ways work. But if you come here and he comes up, you promote. If he comes to the right, you just push this other one. And now there's nothing he can do. Take, promote. So great, we won the game there. So that's why he resigned in this position. Sorry, not that position. He resigned here. Because there's no way to stop this and then getting infiltrated in. You can't stop it with the queen. Sure, how much back would you like me to go? Okay. Oh, a lot forward? So from here we decided to take, and he took, and then we came bishop b3. And then from here he loses one of the rooks. Oh, rook versus 2 pawns? Okay. Yeah. So he'll try and bring his king in, but he won't make it in time, is what I'm saying. Take what? Because it's our turn. If he takes the pawn, we just get a free rook. Here he can't take because our rook is protecting it. Yeah, and if he's being threatened, so he has to move back, because on this file, we'll just take him all. So he moves back, and now there's nothing he can do. No matter what he does, we can just push the second one, and then we'll push the end. Great job, guys. Great. So those were the 60 things. Now let's go to 61. Okay. Wait, that's not 61. Okay. Who remembers what this is? What is it? No, I don't. We get it from a book. So who remembers what this is? What is this? It's a Sicilian. There you go. Yeah. And he countered it like this. It's really weird. No, we own the book, and this is allowed. Take. You can take this if you want. You can't attack the queen anymore, so it just looks like he's more developed, so he didn't take. But if he takes you, you take a pawn back, and you're equally developed. So the game continues. Check. And this queen was brought up to really hammer this home. And this knight was brought here. Now, what do you think would happen if I push the pawn up so that the knight moves away somewhere, and then I can just take this knight? Do you think that's a good idea? Well, what can this knight do? What can white do now? C7 is not going to work because I'll just take it. No, a sack wouldn't work because what would you sack it for? None of my pieces are hanging. You can go to another square though. That's protected. Yeah, d6 is what I was looking for. So d6 would fork these two, and it's protected. So if he takes, you just take back, and now he has a queen, and it's like really, really hard on you. On the other hand, if you don't, you have to move your king, and now you lose the right to castle. And it's his turn anyway, so it didn't work. Yeah. And if you come here, what does he do? Just a quick question. Yeah, he can just take this. And then it just becomes really ugly, honestly. But you're not winning here. So yeah, sure, I'll go back. So this is the idea. If I push the pawn here, he comes here. A6? What do you mean? Oh, A6, because he's threatening here. That's the problem with it. If you go A6, he'll come here. And if you take it, he just has a queen that's breathing down your neck. That's the only problem. There's not really too much of a problem, but there's no point in it, is what I'm saying. If you don't take, then you lose the ability to castle for the rest of the game. And if you go here, then you lose your rook. So no matter what, there's no benefit to it, is what I'm trying to say. No matter what, you lose the ability to castle or rook or something. Anyways, so instead of a6, he did this. And now here, if he made a silly move, a6 would be fine. Because if he comes here, I just take. And because the pawn is up, the queen can't take. So white has to deal with this problem. And he deals with it like this. So now he's just threatening me. I can still do a6, but just not as fun. Because, yeah. Because if I do a6, he'll just do this. And now if I take, he'll just take. And now he's just being annoying. Something like that. Continue. I think I actually said that wrong, but it doesn't matter. The game continues. And this was actually White's blunder. So why is it a blunder to come here with the queen? What's the problem? What do you mean? What are those question marks? So the question is, why is it a problem to come here with the queen? Well, because this pawn is the only thing protecting the knight. And if you bring the queen here, I'll just take the pawn. Now only your queen is protecting the knight. And what can you do when there's a queen just out in the wild? Well, not kill it, but you can start attacking it. And because he'll just have to move around. He can never defend himself. So I'm going to start attacking the queen. So he puts up e5. What's the point of e5? Yeah, it's the bishop can come here. So he does this. We can bring the bishop. The game continues a bit. You could actually pin him here, but he decided not to. Game continues. So now you see the queen's getting attacked. Can he take this? Nope. So the queen's still getting attacked. And then this is a knight sacrifice. So if a queen takes it, what will happen? What kind of trouble will we be in if the queen takes it? Yeah, we can take this pawn and then fork him and get a rook. So he has to take it with the king. From here, we bring the two rooks in. And now we're just really attacking him. And he tries to trade queens, and we don't want to trade queens. So what's a way that we can not trade queens, but keep the momentum on our side? Yeah, a6 is okay. Is there any better way we can do it? So we can do a6, but we can also do here and then attack on the left side. a6 is kind of defensive. He can start running away, but we want to be here just because all our pieces are on the left side. So let's attack on the left side. So he blocks it. If he takes, we just start attacking like that. He just loses a bishop. So he didn't take, he pushed this pawn up. And now we want to keep pushing our queen into his territory. So where should I move my queen? Yeah, h3. He takes, and now we can just start attacking. So we can take back because he can't take us. He checks, we run away. And this is the final move. This is a check that attacks both the queen and the king. So he either takes it with the queen or he takes it with the pawn. So I'll go back before. So where do you want to move? More. There. So there's not much to wonder about. Basically, we sacrificed the knight here. He had to take back with the king. And then we brought the rook up. And now we just have a really good attack on him. He tried to trade queens. We didn't allow it because we want to push on the left side. And then once we attack the bishop, because he can't really take it. And he can't move away either, because if he does, he starts losing. He starts like falling into all these things. And it's just not pretty. Right? So he needs the bishop there. He tried to move our queen. We pushed it more into his territory. And then pretty soon, he ran out. Here, the special move is you have to take this. You could also take it with the bishop. It doesn't matter. Which one's better? Do you think he would take with pawn? Let's just imagine he does. What do you think we should do from here? if he takes with pawn. We want to try and checkmate him now. Yeah, we can do bishop g4. And now where do we want to go? So, okay, so f3 is one idea. Where's another idea? We can also go h2. Now, which one do we want to do is the question. So if we go f3, where will he go? Well, where will he go? He will go to g1. Now, is g1 black or white? The square. It's black. And our bishop is white, and our queen is white. So there's not many ways to continue checking him. How are we going to continue the attack? You could try this to try and checkmate here, but he can do this. Or even better, he can do this, and he's trying to trade or something, right? It just won't work. We can do this, but he'll run away. And now there's nothing we can do to stop this. There's no way to attack him. So we don't want to go here because he'll go on a black square where our bishop has no power. So let's go ahead and take this. And now he's on a white square. If he came here, we can continue attacking him. And I think this is checkmate right there. On the other hand, if he comes here like he did, then this is checkmate because now our bishop has power. So no matter what is checkmate. So this is the key point I wanted to bring to your attention. You sometimes have to think, which square do I do to continue the mating attack? Because you have him, but you have to be very careful. The computer says it's checkmate in 2, which it is when you take this, right? But what do you think would happen if we chose the wrong one, f3, where he can actually escape? What do you think would happen? It wouldn't be very good for us, would it? Well, if we try f3, you see now he's actually winning by a whole rook. So since we couldn't capitalize on these, the only difference between us is that he has a rook and we don't. We never got the checkmate, right? So he's winning by a whole rook. You could try this, and this also works, but it's just much longer. So if you calculate it enough, this would also work. But this is the whole point because it's checkmate in 1. So just be a little careful near the end because one wrong move could give up all your hard work. Okay, we only have 2 more studies and then we're done. Okay. Now I just want this study, you don't need to figure out the moves, you just need to figure out why the moves work. So knight came here. Why can't he take this? It's not a trick question, but yeah, why can't he just take this? So let's say he takes it. What do we do from here? So this is e5. What are we going to do about it? How do you want to fork? Okay, this is d5 if you're trying to say that. But he will take it with the knight, so we can't fork, right? I mean, it's a good idea. Can we use it? Can we use that idea in the future? G5 is okay, but it's not worth giving up a whole piece because he can defend against it. Yeah, bishop b6 is a good idea. Why would me taking the knight be a good idea? Because he'll just take it back, right? Now you can fork. So the fork was a good idea, but this knight was annoying. So you can just take it and then fork. And this isn't just a normal fork, because if it was, you could just defend it like this. Now if I take, he takes back. What's extra special about this fork? If he just defends it and I take it and he takes back, what do I do? What do I do in this situation? Yeah, take knight. So this isn't just a fork, it's attacking the knight as well. So you see this queen originally had way too many things that it was trying to protect. So it was overloaded. So now he can only choose between the knight and the bishop. And we want our piece back. So that's why he decided not to take it. Game continues. Knight was brought here, attacking the queen. You don't need to take it right away because the check prolongs by a move. Now take, knight came, queen came up here, still keeping that diagonal. Now this pawn was pushed. If he takes, then this rook immediately comes up. Oh no. This rook comes up, and then another rook can come behind it, and now you have an attack going. So he decided not to take. He took here. I can't take back because this knight's here. So I will have to take back with the pawn. And now the knight was sacrificed again. It came here. Can he take this? He can, but do we lose a lot if he does? Oh no. No, because if he takes, I get it back, and now he has double pawns, and I'm about to take his pawn back. So it's good for us. He decided to try and get out of that by first taking the bishop. Now, do I take it back? Because what will happen if I take it back? What will happen? If I take it back, no, we don't want to take the pawn because he'll just take me. If I take the knight, he will take the pawn, the knight, yeah. So how do we stop him from taking the knight? Rook d3? No, because we just lost the bishop. He'll just go back here or something. And now we just lost the bishop for no reason. We want to take this knight eventually, but we don't want him to take our knight when we take his knight. So what do? He's going to take our knight. We don't want him to take, yeah, knight f6. Because now if he moves, we just take the knight. It's called the in-betweener move. And if he takes, we just take back. And now we're threatening the queen. And he runs away with the queen, and we take the knight. Yippee. So yeah, you got to be careful with these in-betweener moves. So you see now we have a good knight in the right spot, and now we can put more ammo in there. And this knight really does make a difference. And then this is the final sacrifice. Can he take this? Why not? Why can't he just take it? Well, no intermediate. I just take the rook. Can he take my rook? No, because if I take his rook, he still can't take this, because if he does, I'll just checkmate him. So no matter what, this knight's a good move. Once the knight was made, the rook trade was made, he went out of his checkmate way, and the knight can come back. And now it's just nice to have that knight there. Yeah, that's all. So we have 5 minutes left. I want to talk about the homework for next week. No, it's not checkmate. It's just really nice because you're up like a couple pieces. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that study just because it shows that knights can be really, really tricky. And more than that, a lot of times you have to put the knight in almost sacrificial position for it to be useful. We didn't, yeah, you didn't, well, I mean, you kind of had homework for last week, but for this week, so next week's the final class for spring, and then you can sign up for classes in summer if you want. But since next week's the final class, this week is the final homework. From this week to next week is the final homework. Yippee. So the homework I'm going to give you isn't like a sheet for this week. It's kind of like a game. So here's what you have to do. For this week, I want you guys, so you take 8 queens and you put them on a board. Can you put all 8 on the board in such a way that none of them attack each other? And that's the question. And you just have to answer yes or no. And you have to have proof. So for example, this doesn't work. This configuration doesn't work because these two are attacking each other, these two are attacking each other, these two are attacking each other. It's just a mess. So that won't work. This is better because now these two are not attacking each other, but these two are still attacking each other. So you could be like, oh, okay, it's okay. I'll just fill around a bit. But it won't work because look, these two are attacking each other. Yeah, it is possible to put 8 queens on the board such that none of them attack each other. It is possible. You can of course put less as well, but 8 is the maximum and it's possible. Yeah, exactly. You got it, Carson. And you don't actually need to solve it. I just want you to dedicate at least 30 minutes to try and figure this out. You don't need to solve it, but just try and figure it out. Put some time into it because it actually teaches you about configuration. Well, if you want to put more, you can always put more, but I just want at least 30 minutes. Yeah, there's 64 squares and 8 is the maximum as well. If anyone can prove to me why 8 is the maximum, that's also good. That would be nice as well. So 8 is the maximum, 9, 10, all those are impossible. Less than 8 is obviously possible. 8 is the maximum, it is possible. Why are you multiplying 8 by 64? So yeah, that's the first homework. So just spend a couple of minutes trying to do that. Now, if you do that and you're either bored with it or you want another challenge or you succeed in it and you just want to keep going, this is the second challenge. First, you take a knight and 2 pawns. Put the pawns on the 2 corners of the board. No, it's just 64 is the total squares. Oh, you're trying to find permutations. Yeah, but that's not how you find permutations. There's actually less than that because the first one can go to 64 squares, the second one 63, and there's only 4, so you just do that. There's actually more than that, but whatever. So this is the second challenge, so listen close. You put two squares. Yeah. You put pawns on the 2 corners, and the question is, can you move the knight in such a way that it hits every square once, but only once, except the 2 corners, of course. So you can't hit the pawns, but you can start anywhere with the knight, and you just have to move it around and try and hit every square once. It is hard, but it's also something that you can solve in a couple of seconds if you know how to. So this it'll be fun for me to show you the solution next week. Okay, if you got it, tell me next week. But yeah, those are the two problems you have. And that's it. I will send you the recording for this class in case you forget the homework. But other than that, I'll see you guys next week.